7 o'clock, December 20th, for the Bucyrus City Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
McKeever?
Here.
Myers?
Here.
Potter?
Here.
Sherrick? Here. Spiegel?
Here.
Wireball?
Here.
Young?
Here.
Before we get started, I would like to have a moment of silence for 3 people in our community who passed away that did benefit our community. That would be Earl Kleinhelfer, who was an auxiliary policeman and dog warden, Nelfred Kimberline, who was the common pleas judge here in Crawford County, and Norma Hill, who was our Ward 2 council member. So if I could have please just a few moments of silence in remembrance of these fine people who did support and love our community. Thank you. Before you, you have minutes from the December 6, 2022 regular council meeting.
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Potter, a second by Mr. Wireball. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something else. Okay, all right. Any opposed? Motion carries. Granting permission for visitors to speak. Seeing none, communications and petitions. Anybody have anything? Seeing none. Standing committee reports, plating,
I have nothing at this time.
public lands and buildings. I'm sorry. Is that more, not at the end, under new business?
Yeah, I thought that's when we were going to discuss it.
Okay.
Your meeting
Well, do you want me to
Thursday.
bring it up? You want me to broach it?
Well, we each have to do it individually. I think.
Correct.
I do not plan to have a meeting on Thursday.
Okay.
I do not want to call one on Thursday.
Public lands and buildings.
I have no report at this time, and because I have nothing on my schedule, I'm going to cancel the meeting for Thursday.
Okay. Health and safety.
No report, and the Health and Safety Committee meeting for Thursday will be canceled.
Finance.
No report, and we will also cancel our meeting on Thursday.
Economic development.
No report, and as well, there'll be no economic development committee meeting on Thursday.
Service.
No report, and the service committee will be canceled on Thursday.
Traffic commission.
Nothing to report.
All right.
Nothing to cancel.
All right, since there's no reports, nothing to accept. Moving on, the mayor's report.
Well, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you, and to all council members. Talk a little bit about, just a few people made a difference. I always like to single out people, and they're doing good things. I don't know if you know Ruth Van Buskirk, but Ruth comes around and makes these really tasty submarine sandwiches and sells them to the staff and in different places around the city. And the profits she makes, all goes to Christmas gifts for underprivileged families. And this year, Ruth, through her hard work, raised enough money to buy gifts for 49 families. Try to imagine that, yeah. One sandwich at a time. So we thank people like Ruth for making Bucyrus a better place. And she's a nice lady. She'll start up again next year. And if any of you want to buy subs, let us know. We'll let you know when she comes around. Speaking of good guys, Salvation Army kicked it into full Christmas mode months ago. The need is great, always. If you haven't contributed to the Red Kettle campaign, you have about a few days to go. Tom and Debbie Grace are fantastic people, and they have huge hearts, and hearts for this community too, and for the people they serve. So we thank them. and wish them a Merry Christmas. Said goodbye to a giant last week, Jack Hewitt. You might call him a Bucyrus original. Maybe some people who are watching tonight remember Jack, and maybe actually were coached by Jack. A good guy, excellent talent in a fast-pitch softball, and taught so many young ladies in the area. Spoke so highly of him at this funeral. Matter of fact, I was honored to take part in the naming of the Bucyrus softball field after Jack Hewitt a few years ago. Very nice. He was exceptional, and he will be missed. Hopefully somebody will step up in his place and nurture our young folks. And we extend our sympathy to his widow, Kay, and to his Mitch, his entire family. Finally, we wish a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all our citizens and business community. We thanks to our elected officials who have chosen to serve during this challenging time. Next year, 2023 is going to be a transitional year for the city, but I think 2024 is going to be a very good year. We just have to all stick together and get through 2023. And I look forward to working with all of you as we nurture the city and prepare it for bigger and better things. Thank you. That's all for tonight. I've got Jeff's report here, yeah. We have a couple referrals. The 2023 material bids to Service Committee can be discussed in January. We also want to refer office space at City Hall to Lands and Buildings. And those are the two referrals that I have. We have the Wayne Avenue Sewer Separation Project. Dirt Dog Excavating was the lowest and best bidder, and we awarded them the project and signed the contracts today. The Bucyrus Nevada Waterline Project, the long-anticipated project it's already out to bid, back from bidding, and Driven Excavating was the lowest and best bidder at $1,223,092.25, and we awarded them the project on December 12th. But the contracts cannot be signed until the EPA is finished reviewing all the documents in January. We are also working on the last two easements that are needed with McKeever and Associates. Pyram Electric was the lowest and best bidder at $512,412 for the traffic light project on Hopley Avenue. And the alternates were not awarded. We did award them the project on December 8th, and the contracts were signed this morning. Stetzer Road, the Phase 2 part of Stetzer Road will be going to the EPA for approval within the next couple of weeks. And as soon as we hear back from them, we will keep you informed of the status of that project. Lane Street repairs are done. An update on that. I just drove from home, and the barricades are down. Thank goodness. So that the repairs are complete on Mary Street and Lane Street and is now open. Norfolk and Southern Railroad is working on the bridge on East Mansfield Street. And the infrastructure work for the splash pad has begun at All Miller Park. And we anticipate a June opening for that, weather permitting, obviously. The last thing, Aqualine has been in town for the past 3 weeks. They're the company that tests for leaks, which we have them in every so often. I'm not sure it's every year, but it's at least every other year. And they listen for leaks, and that way we save water. So they've already found some in the last few years that have saved us thousands of gallons a day. So, and that's Jeff's report for tonight.
Anybody have any questions for the mayor or regarding the Safety Service Director report? Moving on, Mr. Garner.
Thank you. In the income tax, upon review of Ohio Revised Code, specifically Chapter 718, as it prepares to municipality income tax, council would need to enact a resolution authorizing a proposed rate increase and include the form ordinance in that legislation. The legislation would need to include rate increase, allocation of the funds that would be granted in the levy, commencement date, term, and provide the actual ordinance by which the new tax would be governed. This new tax legislation would then have to be read and analyzed so as to ensure it's cohesive and jives with our current existing tax code. Currently, we still have the pre-2016 tax code, which is our Chapter 185, the post-2016 chapter tax code, which is Chapter 189. This is going to take a little bit longer than I anticipated. I've consulted with Squires, Patton, and Boggs to help guide and give me some guidance. We intend to have this prepared for you by mid-January at the latest, which would then meet our February deadline. So I know that Finance Council asked for that quarter% tax increase, and I intended to have it for you all today. It was just a little bit more labor intensive than I imagined. In contemplation and preparation for that legislation, I have been spending quite a bit of time in the tax department talking to Kelly and Chris. And I know that there's been some discussions about RETA, which I think that is a viable consideration, but there's also significant questions that we would have to work on. Obviously, Kelly and Chris have significant knowledge and insight into our current tax code and collection. They've been able to stay on top of and identify entities that may have owed tax, but were, for one reason or another, weren't sending in tax. We had somebody that had employees in the city that wasn't filing at all. So we were able to correct that and get those tax revenues back to the city, which obviously an out-of-county, out-of-town tax agency might not know the business atmosphere like local people. Just a few months ago, Ms. Schimpf worked diligently for everybody to calculate the actual tax numbers, which were behind the credit awards. I'm not sure that we would be able to have pulled that information from RETA in such a timely and concise manner. Further, from 2019 to present, $898,250 has been forwarded to the Ohio Attorney General for their collection program. Of this amount, we've received $259,748 in collection revenues. The outstanding $638,459 hopefully will be able to be collected in a little bit more efficient manner now that the Attorney General has the authority to intercept not only state income tax refunds, but also federal income tax returns. When we have a manned tax income review board, or a man or woman, when we have people in our tax income review board, we also have then the ability to utilize more techniques to help people file, including impute income to those filers. So we can take the city's median income and actually file a return on your behalf if we know you're residing here, imputing you that median income and then taxing you on that, which is sort of, that forces your hand to then come in and actually verify what your income was, file your taxes, and begin payment thereof, which would help us increase revenue, and also would keep it, because when we go to court and we file, that's all we're basically doing. We go to court, we say, look, you didn't file, and now it's time to file. If we go, this would speed up the process because people would then start getting a bill on imputed tax. State and federal governments already, especially the federal government, imputes you income and sends you a tax bill even if you did not file. As to the collection action at a local level, I briefly spoke on it, but we have been filing failure to file income tax complaints and pursuing these in Crawford County Court with much success. The municipal court is very helpful with these. We utilize fines and probation, significantly fines. You're on probation, but your only requirement is to file your tax by a certain date to avoid having to pay a heftier fine, which typically people that I deal with at court simply have forgotten or are working on collecting documents. They're just, glad to get it filed, just needed that a little bit of incentive, I suppose. Once a taxpayer does file their return, then like I said, they either file and we start collecting on a payment plan, or they refer to the Attorney General. And then I guess finally on the RETA thing, as with any other area, in the event we were to turn our income tax over to RETA or some other similar place, once it's gone, we would be hard pressed to ever have it returned based upon the amount of time and re-implementing our own staff and training. I know when Ms. Schimpf began there in 2016, the next year, just based upon her efforts in streamlining things, we generated 12% over the prior year, and that was just catching up on people that weren't filing and utilizing this skills that she has to get people in here and file. RETA may propose an enticing percentage on the front end, and we can get 5%, 10%, whatever that may be. And it might be true. I haven't ever actually listened to their spiel. But once we get rid of the tax department and we're solely reliant on them, I can envision that rate may increase at some point, and we don't have the ability to say no, really. So things to think about. The case of Fankhauser versus the city of Bucyrus, Ohio, specifically the Omnifiber case, was dismissed this week by Common Pleas Court Judge Finnegan from Marion County. And then finally, actually one other thing. In our public meeting for DORA, there was discussion about, on page 14, it talks about in our application, DORA is to then recommence after council determines in the spring of 2023. The legislation that I provided you with would override what's in the application, basically making it effective immediately and continuing permanently, which would be amending the underlying application. After discussions with Ms. Deschamps concerning the same, we could pass the legislation or deny the legislation. You could do whatever you want with that legislation. Or if you wanted clarification indicating that it's not recommencing in the spring of 2023, it says in there that it's effective immediately. But I threw some language after the public hearing in a second piece, which if the council wanted that, we could review that, able to be passed or voted on tonight, whatever you wanted to do. And then finally, I wanted to personally thank Joyce Schiffer for all the dedication and countless hours to the city of Bucyrus. In the little over a year I've been here, spent countless hours pricking your brain on city operations, tapping into your immense knowledge of all that goes on in this place. You've helped me both personally and professionally in innumerable ways. As you embark upon your much-deserved retirement and future chapters of your life, may God bless you, and I wish you all the happiness and good fortune, and you will be truly missed.
Thank you.
Amen. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Gernert? All right. Ms. Schiffer?
Thank you, Madam President. I have no written report tonight. I do have one piece. I don't know whether it would be, should be brought up now or brought up in new business. I had talked to the clerk today regarding council's approval of the mayor to sign budgetary checks effective January 1, because of course my signature won't be on those checks anymore, and we have dual signatures. Until a new auditor is appointed, he would be the person that would need to sign them. The bank needs council minutes with a motion second and approval for him to take over before we can get him on a signature card. So I will need that taken care
You
of.
have that under new business.
Okay.
I say, do we just need to make a motion for that, or what all do we have to do?
The bank does not need a resolution, they just need a
No, they
motion.
do not. They
second,
just need
and
a copy
minutes.
of the minutes.
So
if you
somebody
wanna
needs
do it-
So I can go ahead and make a motion
You wanna do
to
that?
allow
Yep.
the mayor to be the signature until we have a new auditor.
Yes. Otherwise, we won't be able to pay any bills after the first of the year. We won't have that dual signature.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Ms. Sherrick, a second by Mr. Young. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you. All right, you have the treasurer's report.
Can I make a motion to accept and file the treasurer's report?
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Ms. Sherrick, a second by Mr. McKeever. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, do we have police and fire?
No,
I didn't see any. Okay.
nothing.
All right, may I have a motion to accept the city reports?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Myers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Granting permission for visitors to speak regarding the standing and special committees and city reports.
Vicki DeShawn, 1108 Hillcrest Drive, Bucyrus. This question is for the interim law director. Do I understand correctly that you've made some changes to the proposed ordinance number 64, 2022 that deals with DORA?
So I have changes. I don't know if council wants them or not, but there is some, I've added a section that says that this supersedes any and all prior applications, ordinances, and is effective upon passage, which would then supersede the spring of 2023 language, which you pointed out.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess just by way of an aside, I mean, simply by operation of law, the second piece where we were approving DORA permanently would by nature then supersede and amend the application which talks about commencement in the spring. But for purposes of the record and clarification, we could clean that up. It's up to council.
All right, I need a motion to suspend the rule 111.11 to allow the proposed ordinances 59-2022 appropriation reductions, 60-2022 transfers, 62-2022 advances to be presented to council without coming from committee to be
Madam
voted as
President,
is. Yes.
Point of order, would we
Yes.
not want to add 64-2022 to that as well?
I agree.
Okay.
64 is DORA?
Yes.
Which did come out of committee.
Oh, then,
But not the changes.
The changes you made.
So with your changes, we'd have to do it.
Well, your changes are semantics, I suppose, in my mind, but.
I withdraw my question.
The
Language.
CYA.
Right. But it's still like, so you guys don't approve all of the changes that I make internally to my own legislation. You asked for legislation approving DORA on a permanent basis, which is what the legislation,
Withdrawn.
both pieces of legislation would do.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Spiegel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of proposed legislation for the first time.
Ordinance number 59-2022, amending and supplementing ordinance number 54-2021, being the annual appropriations ordinance for 2022 by decreasing the contractual services line item by $6,000 and in the capital outlay line item by $6,000, with both line items being within the land and buildings category within the park and recreation land subparagraph, further decreasing the current balances in the contractual services line item by $191,775.72 within the stormwater utility category within the northwest storm sewer separation subparagraph, further decreasing the current balances in the contractual service line item by $5,000 and in the capital outlay line item by $467,110.44, with all line items being within the airport category within the airport grant subparagraph. And finally, decreasing the current balances in the personal services line item by $69,851.81 and in the contractual services line item by $751.03, with both line items being within the police department category within the police pension subparagraph and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 60, 2022, amending and supplementing ordinance number 54-2021, being the annual appropriation ordinance for 2022, by decreasing the current balance in the personal services line item by $600 within the maintenance utility worker category, and increasing the current balance in the personal services line item by $600 within the custodian category, with all line items and categories being within the Program 7 General Government subparagraph within the general fund. Further, by decreasing the current balance in the capital outlay line item by $140,200 within the distribution category, and increasing the current balance in the debt services line item by $140,200 within the debt service category, with all line items and categories being within the waterworks subparagraph within the waterworks fund. And finally, by decreasing the current balance in the contractual services line item by $751.03, and increasing the current balance in the personal services line item by $751.03, with both line items being within the fire department category, within the fire pension fund subparagraph, within the fire pension fund, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 61-2022, amending and supplementing ordinance number 54-2021, being the annual appropriations ordinance for 2022, by appropriating from unappropriated fire pension funds the sum of $47,464.86 to the personal services line item within the fire department category, within fire pension subparagraph, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 62-2022, authorizing and directing the city auditor to advance funds from the general fund in an amount not to exceed $196,781.53 to the fund outstanding obligation of the following grants: $17,224.28 to fund the Northwest Storm Sewer Separation Fund subparagraph, and $175,557.25 to fund the Airport Grant Fund subparagraph, and $4,000 to fund the 2023 Victims of Crime Act Fund subparagraph. These funds will be returned to the general fund in 2023 as grant funds are received. This amount may be reduced by the auditor if grant funds already requested for reimbursement are received by year end, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Yes.
may I request that proposed ordinance 63, 2022 be read in its entirety rather than just a caption?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's
Wait a
okay.
minute, I need a drink. Ordinance number 63-2022, an ordinance amending and supplementing section of 189.081 of Chapter 189, Income Tax effective January 1st, 2016, of Title IX Taxation of Part 1 Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Bucyrus, State of Ohio, 2/3 of all members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that Section 189.081 of Chapter 189 Income Tax effective January 1st, 2016 of the Title IX Taxation of Part 1 Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Bucyrus is hereby amended as follows. 189.081, credit for the tax paid to another municipality. A, every individual taxpayer who resides in the City of Bucyrus but who receives net profits, salaries, wages, commissions, or other personal service compensation for work done or services performed or rendered outside of said city, it be made to appear that he has paid a municipal income tax on such net profits, salary, wages, commissions, and other compensation to another municipality shall be allowed a credit against the tax imposed by this ordinance of the amount so paid by him or on his behalf to other such municipalities as follows in the order listed below, starting in tax year 2014. Number 1, the taxpayer shall receive a credit 50% toward the uniform rate of 1% as provided by Chapter 718 of the Revised Code. Number 2, the taxpayer shall receive a credit 50% of any collections at the rate in excess of 1% approved by a majority of the electors of the city. Number 3, the credit rates herein before listed shall commence on January 1st, 2023 and continue until December 31st, 2024, at which point the credit rates shall both return to the previously granted 100%. The credit shall not exceed the tax assessed by this ordinance on such net profits, salaries, wages, commissions, and other compensation earned in such other municipalities or municipalities with such taxes paid. No credit shall be given for taxes paid in error to another municipality. If a taxpayer receives a refund from another municipality for income taxes paid in error to the municipality, the amount of tax due to the city of Bucyrus must be paid to the city income tax administrator within 30 days of receiving said fund. Ordinance 42-2015 passed 12/1/2015. Section 2, the credit of tax paid to another municipality amended herein and decreased to 50% on the uniform rate of 1% and 50% of any collections at rate in excess of 1%. Approved by a majority of the electors of the city of Bucyrus shall commence January 1st, 2023 and continue until December 31st, 2024 unless modified, amended, extended, or terminated by another ordinance prior to this. In the event of the council of the city of Bucyrus takes no further action pertaining to the credit for tax paid to another municipality, said reduction in the credit shall expire on December 31st, 2024, and the credit shall return to 100% of the uniform rate of 1% of 100% of any collections at a rate in excess of 1%, approved by a majority of the electors of the city of Bucyrus. Section 3, that this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure in that revenue is needed in the line item concerned to ensure the continued and uninterrupted functioning of local city government, same being deemed necessary for the preservation of the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the city of Bucyrus, Ohio, and it shall therefore be in full force and effect from and after its passage.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just noticed at the end of this legislation, it's showing that it was passed in October, not December.
I'll reprint it.
Scrivener's error.
Wow. Kind of like a December 4th, huh? Ordinance 64-2022. An ordinance making permanent the designated outdoor refreshment area in the city of Bucyrus, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
May I have a motion to accept these as the first readings?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Myers, a second by Mr. McKeever. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Granting permission for the public to speak regarding the legislation that's been read for the first time.
Vicki DeShawn, 1108 Hillcrest Drive, Bucyrus, Ohio. Ordinance number 64-2022 dealing with DORA. First off, if you'll take a look at your fifth whereas clause, the last sentence states, the Special Health and Safety Committee meeting on April the 14th That should say April the 13th. The seventh whereas clause states that Bucyrus City Council passed ordinance 17-2022 approving the application for a designated outdoor refreshment area on April the 16th, 2022. That should read April the 19th. And then I question, should we have a whereas clause that talks about the public hearing that we had tonight? Because it's that public hearing that needed to be held before legislation could be given to council for consideration. I just think for paper trail purposes. Does the interim law director agree with that, or?
So I believe that council could put it in there if they so chose, but it would not affect the validity one way or another.
Other than information purposes, it would explain, but, okay, you're the interim law director. Section 2, has that section been changed, or does it still read as it's stated here in the legislation, which is the designated outdoor refreshment area approved on a limited basis by Bucyrus City Ordinance Number 17-2022 shall and hereby is approved on a permanent basis, the same as if it were fully rewritten herein?
It's the same.
Same? Okay, if you look at ordinance number 17-2022, it states an ordinance approving an application for a designated outdoor refreshment area. So section 2 should state the designated outdoor refreshment area application approved on a limited basis. Correct?
You could definitely put that in there. I believe that it would be semantics and it would be whatever the council chose to do.
Okay, and then when you go on and say, and shall and hereby is approved on a permanent basis, the same as if it were fully rewritten herein. Are you referring to the application as if it were fully rewritten herein? Or what are you referencing there?
So you would be, that clause would be incorporating what the previous legislation in its entirety is, except those things that are otherwise amended by this. This would supersede that. So anything that's in the prior one.
In the prior ordinance?
Prior ordinance and the exhibit there too, because the exhibit's part of the ordinance.
The prior ordinance, which is no longer in existence. So how can you fully rewrite that herein when 4 months it was void, according to the verbiage that you put in here? This ordinance shall expire, and expire means void, null, no longer.
Right, so that would be a argument. My purpose for that, and the purpose behind the language, was that the application of the DORA would expire 120 days after it became law. But on a grander scheme, so I can incorporate something that's expired anyways. I could have retyped the entire thing in there, or I can just incorporate it by reference, even if it were expired.
Last, section 4. We're declaring this an emergency, same being deemed necessary for the preservation of the health, safety, and welfare. of the citizens of the city of Bucyrus. I'm not sure how having DORA is deemed necessary for one's health, one's safety, and one's welfare. Thank you.
I mean, we can, yeah.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to amend proposed ordinance 64, 2022 by adding a 10th whereas referencing tonight's public hearing, as well as in section 2, adding the word application in the first sentence, the designated outdoor refreshment area application.
What about the date changes that she suggested?
Yeah, as well as the 2 date changes that Ms. DeShawn referenced in the 5th whereas April 13th and the 7th whereas April 19th. And also with the language that Mr. Gernert mentioned earlier in his report to add to this. Could you recite that one more time?
I will, it won't be verbatim, but something to the effect of this ordinance supersedes the prior ordinance and makes permanent the DORA, even though in there it contemplated in April or spring of 2023. I don't have that language
Okay.
in
I would
front of me.
also like
but-
to add that to my motion.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Myers, a second by Mr. McKeever. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed to the changes? Motion carries. All right.
Procedurally, I would need a recess to do that, and then when we would come back, we would read it as a first reading all over again,
All right.
as council as a whole passing it, because it's not coming back out of committee after the amendments.
And we are going to recess at
42.
7:42. It's 7:56. We're back in session. Just for the record, on ordinance number 64-2022, the correction was made in the 5th whereas to April 13th, the 7th whereas to April 19th, a 10th whereas reads, whereas Bucyrus City Council Health and Safety Committee held a public hearing to discuss issues and gather information pertaining to the designated outdoor refreshment area on December 20th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And in section 2, it says the designated outdoor refreshment area application approved on, etc.
And then there's an entirely new
Which is this one?
section 3.
Section 3. Section 3, this ordinance supersedes all prior ordinances and exhibits thereto and creates a permanent year-round DORA effective from and after its passage, subject to the rules and regulations contained in the original designated outdoor refreshment area application. Does anybody have any questions? All right. If that's the case. Referring back to the originating committee, proposed ordinance 61-2022, appropriations referred back to finance. Proposed ordinance 63-2022, reduced income tax referred back to finance.
Because 64 is council as a whole, right?
64 is council as a whole, but just for clarity, I think you should ask for a motion to suspend Rule 111.11 to allow proposed ordinance 64-2022 to be presented to council without coming first from committee and to be voted on with those corrections as is.
All right.
And then we would have to reread it.
Okay. May I have a motion to suspend the rule 111.11 to allow proposed ordinance 64-2022, the DORA, to be presented to council with the corrections without coming from committee to be voted on as is?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So,
And you
being
want me
read for
to-
the first time again.
Just
Thank you.
Ordinance number 64-2022, an ordinance making permanent the designated outdoor refreshment area in the city of Bucyrus, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Do I need to ask for a motion to accept that as the first reading again? All right.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Spiegel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Committee report on pending legislation. Finance?
Finance is favorable to proposed ordinance 61-2022, the appropriations, and finance is also favorable to proposed ordinance 63-2022, reduced income tax.
Okay.
Further consideration of pending legislation, 59-2022 appropriations. For the second and third readings of proposed ordinance 59-2022, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules of the reading? I'm sorry. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the readings of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Myers.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Wireball?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 59-2022?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Wireball, a second by Ms. Sherrick.
Wireball?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Ordinance number 59-2022 duly adopted. Proposed ordinance 60-2022 transfers. For the second, third readings of the proposed ordinance 60-2022, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the readings of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Myers.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Wireball?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 60-2022?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Wireball, a second by Mr. Spiegel.
Wireball?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Ordinance 60-2022 is duly adopted. Ordinance number 61-2022 appropriations. For the second and third readings of proposed ordinance 61-2022, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the readings of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever and a second by Mr. Young.
McKeever?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Wireball?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 61-2022?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Wireball, a second by Mr. Potter.
Wireball?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Ordinance 61-2022 is duly adopted. Ordinance number 62-2022 advances. For the second and third readings of proposed ordinance 62-2022, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the readings of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Young.
McKeever?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Wireball?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 62-2022?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Spiegel, a second by Mr. Wireball.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Wireball?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Ordinance number 62-2022 is duly adopted. Ordinance number 63-2022, reduction of income tax. For the second and third readings of proposed ordinance 63-2022, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the readings of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Wireball, a second by Mr. McKeever.
Wireball?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Spiegel?
Yes.
Young?
No.
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 63-2022?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Spiegel, a second by Mr. McKeever.
Spiegel.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Wireball.
Yes.
Potter.
No.
Sherrick.
No.
Young.
No.
Resolution 63-2022 fails. Ordinance number 64-2022, DORA, for the second and third readings of proposed ordinance 64-2022. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the readings of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Myers.
McKeever.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Wireball.
Yes.
Potter.
Yes.
Sherrick.
Yes.
Spiegel.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 64-2022?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Myers.
McKeever.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Wireball.
Yes.
Potter.
Yes.
Sherrick.
Yes.
Spiegel.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Resolution, ordinance number 64-2022 is duly adopted. Do we have any old or unfinished business anyone would like to report on? We do have the tree report that we need to accept and file.
I'll make a motion to accept and file a tree report.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Ms. Sherrick, a second by Mr. McKeever. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. New and miscellaneous business, you have the calendar in the back of your packets or on the last page of your readings. For the proposed meetings in 2023, there is one. May 2nd is actually primary day, so we need to either move it to the 1st or the 3rd. Does anybody have a preference of Monday or Wednesday?
Monday.
All right, so we will move that to May 1st. Anybody else see conflicts?
Typically, the, what is it, National Night Out is the first Tuesday in August, right? Where-
I have no idea.
Yeah, I believe it is, and
Yeah.
So
in
we
the
need to
years
move-
past, we always had to reschedule, so
What's
if
the
you
one
want
on
to do it
August
now.
22nd moved for?
Yeah, that was Bratwurst.
Okay,
No.
sorry.
No,
Where do you
no,
live?
that's not the week of the festival. That one doesn't need moved.
August.
Well, it was already, wasn't it already moved from the week of the festival? Like,
Yeah. It's supposed to be the week of the festival.
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Week before.
So August 1st, we need to move to either,
If that's what National Night, it typically is, but,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
so we need to either move it to Monday, July 31st, or to Wednesday, August 2nd.
I'm in favor of Monday again.
Anybody else?
That's fine.
Sounds fine.
Yep.
Anybody else see anything? Okay. Do we need to have a vote on this? Or is it just the way it is?
Nope.
You s-
I don't think we did that.
Okay, all right. It's on my paper, elected official salary. Does anybody,
I think we need to look at lowering those for that next election term. It needs to be done before the end of the year, but if we're tight on money, we're making cuts, we should take cuts too. There's no reason, if the city can't run, how are we supposed to be making what we're making? Just saying.
do you want that referred to a committee?
Well, I don't know who does that. Would that be finance?
Finance.
So while you guys are doing your budget talks, if you see someplace where we can cut back for that next elected term, that would be a really good thing to be looking at. It doesn't affect for next year, but it might help us get back.
I think we have until February 1st for that, too.
Correct.
We have until February 1st.
Okay.
Whenever you have to have your petition in,
February 1.
so we've got time to think about that, even
Okay.
the first, all through January, so.
All right, so I basically have 3 referrals. The 2023 material bids to service, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Steve, was that you?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a motion by Mr. Spiegel, a second by Mr. Young. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The office space in City Hall to public lands and buildings, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Myers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And elected officials' salary reduction to finance.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Sherrick, a second by Mr. Wireball.
And we have the proposed tree ordinance to public lands and buildings.
Okay.
You want to say?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the proposed tree ordinance to public lands and buildings?
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
What Ms. Olivick was referencing on the ordinance 6/2017 was the creation of the tree board. I think from what we discussed previously, this needs to go to health and safety, not public lands, because the trees that are being discussed are not necessarily on city-owned property.
Okay. So the tree ordinance to health and safety,
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Myers, a second by Mr. McKeever. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anybody else have any other business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Potter. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:11.